All right, doing my AFC preview for the year. Starting off with the AFC East. Um, I think the Jets are going to have a really shitty year. I got them going 2-15 on the year. Todd Bowles is their head coach. Won 5 games last year. You know, they may win a couple more. The NFL is a league where there's pretty good integrity. You know, good players on every team, talented players out there. So a lot of close games happen in the NFL. But I got them slated going 2-15, or would it be not 2-15, 2-14. Got them going 2-14. I don't know why I have them going 2-15, 2-14. I don't play 17 games; they play 14. Now grading their draft. Jamal Adams from LSU, top player, very good pick. Marcus May, another good pick from Florida. Darius Stewart, Chad Hansen, two great receivers. I like Chad Hansen out the slot out of California. Darius Stewart went to Alabama. Jordan Leggett, tight end from Clemson. I really like the draft that they had this year. Derrick Jones, Jeremy Clark, two cornerbacks, Michigan and Ole Miss. And you know, depth chart wise, they got a pretty good D. They added Maurice Claiborne on defense. The only addition, they lost Darrell Revis on defense. It looks as if Adams and Mayo will be starting. Buster Shrink and Maurice Claiborne at the cornerbacks. Good linebacker in David Harris. I swear. Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, some studs on the defensive line for them. Josh McCown slated as their starting quarterback. He's a good tanking quarterback, a good quarterback when you're having it. When you're looking for draft picks. Top receiver Eric Decker, Quincy Enunwa, another good receiver, and then look to see Chad Hansen and Darius Stewart to get some time. Also Rory Anderson. They added Kelvin Beachum on the offensive line. They lost Brandon Marshall and Austin Safarian Jenkins and Jordan Leggett. Tight ends, and then running back wise, Matt Forte and Balaj Powell. Look for them to share time. Both good players. So I got the Bills going 4-12. Got the Bills kind of slated, pretty bad this year. New coach. They do have a pretty good team. I just think they have kind of a tough schedule. On the season, definitely towards the end of the year. I got them slated at 4-12. They added like a couple good players, not any like huge players. Philly Brown, Micah Hyde, Steven Hauschka from kicker from Seattle. They added two fullbacks, Patrick DeMarco and Mike Tolbert. So they're going to be running more, I feel like, eye stuff. And then cornerback Sharice Wright from Baltimore. They did lose Corey Graham, Knuckle Roby Coleman, and Stephen Gilmore. And linebacker Zach Brown on defense. But they do have a really good defense. Lorenzo Allen, Preston Brown, Reggie Ragland get to play this year. Ronald Darby, Micah Hyde, and then Tre'Davious White, their number one pick out of LSU. Real good player. Defensive line is real solid. Kyle Williams, Marcel Darius, Shaq Lawson, Jerry Hughes. We'll see what they can do. Tyrod Taylor's the quarterback. Again, good dual threat. We'll see what type of player he can be this year. Charles Clay at tight end. At wide receiver, they got Sammy Watkins, and then Philly Brown, and then Zay Jones. He caught a lot of passes from Eastern Carolina. He's a good rookie. He was their second round pick out of East Carolina, and then Matt Malone out of Boston College, a linebacker they got. Nathan Peterman, a quarterback from Pittsburgh. They had an all right draft. I got Miami going 6-10. I think they overachieved last year. I think Tannehill will kind of come back to. I mean, he didn't do outstanding or anything, but I think he'll be pretty more down to earth. I don't think they'll run the ball as well as they did. Jay Ajayi, definitely one of their stars. Jarvis Landry, another one of their stars, catches tons of passes. Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker, good receivers to watch this year. Isaiah Ford, a rookie. Leonte Carew, Jakeem Grant, other good guys. They got a good receiving core. Ryan Tannehill to me is suspect, but Matt Moore isn't really a improvement, so Tannehill will probably be the guy all year. Defensive-wise, they've got a really good defense. They added Nate Allen. They have Rashard Jones, one of the best strong safeties. Byron Maxwell at cornerback. Tony Lippett. Tony Lippett had 4 picks, led the team last year. Lawrence Timmons is someone that they added in the offseason. K.O. Misa led them in tackles. Raekwon McMillan was their second-round pick. And they got Ndamukong Suh and they got Cameron Wake on the defensive line. 2 good players there. Other rookies that they got, Devon Godshot from LSU. Probably said his name wrong, but and they got Vincent Taylor. 2 good defensive tackles. 2 guys I remember doing work during the year. Charles Harris. It was their number 1 pick out of Missouri. A pick. I think they had an all right draft, not a great draft, but it was all right. They got Cordella Tinkersley 2 in the 3rd round, Isaac Asiata in the 5th from Utah, Isaiah Ford from Virginia Tech, a couple of the other guys that I already named. They lost Brandon Albert, Jelani Jenkins, Deion Jordan, Errol Mitchell. They added T.J. McDonald. I don't see him on the lineup though. Julian Thomas, we'll see him on the offense. And then, like I said, Lawrence Simmons. Patriots, I see the Patriots to be good again this year. I see them being 13-3. I think Brady will continue being Brady. Belichick just scouts teams so well. And attacks the weaknesses that they have. They added Braden Cooks in the offseason, Coney Easley, Mike Gessley, Stephon Gilmore, Lawrence Guy. They lost Martellus Bennett, Barkevius Mingo, Logan Ryan, Chris Long, Jabal Sheard. Got one of the best kickers with Gostkowski. Defensively, got a real good defensive line. Trey Flowers, Malcolm Brown, Alan Branch, Keon Ely, and Lawrence Guy behind that. Rookie Derek Rivers, their second overall or their first overall pick, but it was in the 2nd round. They got Shane McClellan, Dante Hightower, and Rob Ninkovich at the linebackers. 3 good linebackers. Kyle Van Noy, another good linebacker. Stephen Gilmore and Malcolm Butler, solid cornerback combination. Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung, those guys have been there for a while. And then offensively, they got slated Mike Gilsley as the starter and James White. I'm sure those guys will share a lot of time. I like him and James White. Also, Deion Lewis will probably get some time too. Obviously, Brady's the key. Gronk, if Gronk can stay healthy, that'll be huge. Dwayne Allen, though, is the backup guy. He'll probably catch some touchdowns. And then Braden Cooks, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell, Amendola. I mean, good receiving core for Brady to throw to. Draft wise, they got 4 guys. They drafted offensive line, defensive line. The best way to draft, honestly, is to draft those type of players. Deadrick Wise from Arkansas, one that I recognize. Derek Rivers he was a 3rd-round pick from Youngstown State. I got some other offensive guards. Had all right draft for as many picks as they had. So that's the forecast for the AFC East. Patriots winning it, and I'm the only team competing for a playoff spot. Then it's going to be the AFC North. And I got the Browns going 1-15. Think they're going to be garbage again. They really don't have that bad of a team though, so I wouldn't be surprised if they won a couple more games. Offensively, their quarterbacks are garbage. Brock Osweiler, Cody Kessler, they're just not ready yet. Isaiah Crowell, real good back. He'll probably have a decent year behind Joe Thomas, Joe Benito, J.C. Treader, Kevin Zetter, Sean Coleman. That's their offensive line. Pretty good offensive line. Tight end, they have David Nuke, rookie from Miami. Kenny Britt and Corey Coleman are slated as their starting receivers. Kenny Britt is someone they picked up in the offseason. A couple of those offensive linemen they picked up in the offseason too. I think Corey Coleman will have a decent year. Britt will have an all right year. And the main guy they lost is Terrell Pryor, Tramon Williams. Defensively, they're really honestly pretty solid. If your Bill Peppers, turns out to be good. Joe Hayden is a star. Joe Schobert was pretty good last year. Christian Kirksey has been good. Jamie Collins, their linebackers are good. And then you talk about Myles Garrett, Danny Shelton, Emmanuel Ogba, Xavier Cooper on the defensive line. Some pretty good talent. Carl Nasbitt, some pretty good talent there on the defense. I think the defense will keep them in some games. It'll just be depending on if they can not turn the ball over and run the ball well. And I still think they'll be not very good. 1-15 is what I project. Draft-wise, they had a draft. They had tons of picks, three first-round picks, 3 good first-round picks, and then, other – they had about 10 to 11 picks. So, yeah, they had a pretty good draft. And then next I got the Bengals. I think the Bengals will be better than what others project. I think the Bengals will be 8-8. I think they'll have an all right year. I think they'll start strong and weak like they usually do. I think they had a pretty good draft. I like John Ross and Joe Mixon, the additions of them. Jordan Willis and Carl Lawson, also some good draft picks. Josh Malone, really good picks at the first of the draft. It kind of Jordan Evans was a good pick later. Jake Elliott, I feel like they got kind of early. He's a kicker, but he's going to be their starting kicker. And they added Kevin Minter and Andre Smith over the offseason. They lost Carlos Dansby, Ray Magaluga, Mangus Hunt, Damana Peku, Andrew Whitworth over the offseason, and another offensive lineman. So they did lose a lot of people and didn't really gain a lot. But they do have on defense Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins. I like their secondary, hard-hitting safeties, Sean Williams and Greg Ioka, Dre Kirkpatrick and Adam Jones, Darquez Denard, good cornerbacks. They play hard. Vincent Ray and Vontez Burfict, Kevin Minter is coming to the team from Arizona. Are some good linebackers, and Michael Johnson on the defensive end, also Jordan Willis defensive end, also Pat Sims defensive tackle. Don't forget about him. Andrew Billings. they got some good people on the defense. We'll see how they'll really depend on how their defense plays if they're good this year. Um, offensively, suspect offensive line other than Andre Smith. I like Andre Smith. Tyler Eifert, a good tight end, if he can stay healthy. Brandon LaFell and John Ross, I think, will have some pretty decent seasons. A.J. Green will probably have a pretty good season, pretty monster year. He's one of the top 5 or 6 guys in the league. Andy Dalton, I think, will have a all right year. He's not elite yet. And then Joe Mixon will probably be standout running back by the end of it. But they'll all get a lot of time, him and Hill and Bernard. I think the Ravens will be next. Get second in the division, going 9-7. I like the people that they added. They didn't really add a lot of people, but I like the people that they added. Brandon Carr, Tony Jefferson, and Danny Woodhead. They like to throw the ball out the backfield a lot. I think Danny Woodhead will be a good target for them this year. Terrence West and Kenneth Dixon are more good for running. I think Joe Flacco will honestly have a pretty good year. They lost Elvis Dumerville, Lawrence Guy, Timmy Jernigan, Kyle I can't even say this last time. The fullback that's pretty good. Zachary Orr, Steve Smith, Rick Wagner, Jeremy Zuda. They lost them, but they still have a real good defense. Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson, Brandon Carr, Jimmy Smith. In the draft, they added a lot of good defensive players. Chris Wormley, Tim Williams out of Alabama, Tyson Bauer, Houston, Marlon Humphrey out of Alabama. They also have Ladarius Webb. C.J. Mosley is their middle linebacker. They still have Terrell Suggs. I'm sure Tim Williams will move into one of those linebacker positions after Suggs, or he'll play a lot. And then Brandon Williams is on the defensive line. They got some other. They always have a good defense. Offensively, they added Jeremy Maclin and Mike Wallace. I think Brashard Perriman will have a pretty good year. And then obviously, I talked about the other guys. Watch out for Woodhead. But I have them going 9-7. Maybe getting a wild card spot. And then I have the Steelers getting first. I think they'll have a pretty solid year. They have one of the top playmakers, two of the top playmakers in the league with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. I think they both have really good years. Draft-wise, I think they did pretty well. They got T.J. Watt and Juju Smith-Schuler. I think 2 guys that will be good later. Cameron Sutton, another good cornerback. James Conner, Joshua Dobbs. Some good players. But yeah, Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown, and then Martavius Bryant, I think will have a good year because the attention of Antonio Brown, and then Le'Veon Bell, I think will have a monster year. Big Ben, if he doesn't get hurt, he'll have a good year. And then defensively, Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, Bud Dupree, and Ryan Shazier are good linebackers. James Harrison, another good linebacker. And then, secondary-wise, Mike Mitchell's a real hard hitter. And, they drafted Artie Burns 2 years ago, or last year, and he's still starting, so that's a good sign. They lost Jarvis Jones, Lawrence Timmons. That's not good. But they did add Tyson Alou and Cody Sensabaugh, 2 guys that could potentially play on the defense. But yeah, I got them at 11-5, slated to win this AFC North. AFC South. I've got Jaguars in last. Jaguars going 3-13. New coach, Doug Marrone. They're finally starting to get a lot of talent. They lost a lot of close games last year. I don't see Bortles as a guy that's going to win a lot of close games this year. Bortles is not a bad quarterback. the best option. Leonard Fournette and T.J. Yeldon, I think, will be a pretty good combo. Hopefully, Fournette will have a pretty good year. D.D. Westbrook, we'll see if he gets some action. But they've got a real good receiving core in Allen Robinson, Marquise Lee, and Allen Hurns. That's three good guys. And then defensively, Malik Jackson and Calais Campbell on the defensive line. They added Calais Campbell. A.J. Bouye is a real good cornerback that they added, and they have Jason Ramsey, Tyshawn Gibson, and Barry Church are some other guys. And they have real good linebackers: Tevin Smith, Miles Jack, Paul Posluxny, Audie Cole. This is a real solid defensive team. They really improved their defense. They're projected to have a better defense this year. So we'll see if they can help the offense out, and that really see how that really predict how the Jaguars do during the season. Third place, I've got the Colts. Colts had an all right draft, and they did added a lot of players this offseason. John Bostic, Jonathan Hankins, Mangus Hunt. They got a new punter, Jeff Locke, Barknevius Mingo, Jabal Sheard, John Simon, Sean Spencer, Al Woods. They did a lot of work this offseason. They did lose a lot of people too, though. Pat McAfee retired, Robert Mathis retired, Patrick Robinson, Eric Walden, Arthur Jones, Dwell Jackson, Trent Cole, Dwayne Allen, Mike Adams. They lost a lot of talented players, but they did retain some. I like their defensive line: Kendall Langford, Jonathan Hankins, Mangus Hunt, Jabal Shear, Antonio Morris, Sam Spencer, John Simon, John Bostic, Barkmavius Ingo, Barkevius Mango. All good offensive outside linebackers, inside linebackers. Vontae Davis, a good cornerback. Rashad Melvin's the other cornerback. And then Malik Hooker is their first-round draft pick, and he's slated to start. Clayton Gathers also. And they got Adam Vinatieri, who's like 43 years old. Offensively, they got, Andrew Luck. He's really good. They just have a really shit offensive line. We'll see if Ryan Kelly and Anthony Constanzo and those guys can step up. Jack Doyle, not a bad tight end. Luck will find him some. Frank Gore, veteran running back. We'll see what he can do. Robert Turbin. I like Marlon Mack. They're drafting him. Anthony Walker, I like them drafting him. They drafted him real late, though. Receiver-wise, T.Y. Hilton's top 10 receiver. Dante Moncrief, he's another good receiver. Kamar Aiken, someone that they added, and I think he'll be a good target. Phil Dorsett's really fast. He'll be a guy that catches some passes, too. I got them going 8-8, just being all right. Then, Texans, Texans got a really good defense, but they really have issues at the quarterback position. I think Watson can be good. I just don't know if he's going to be Dak Prescott. I don't know if he's going to be as good in his first season. DeAndre Hopkins is a real good wide receiver. Will Fuller, Braxton Miller, some all right wide receivers. I don't really know if Watson will start or if Savage will start. I wish they would just start Watson. I think the defense will be good enough. Deontay Foreman and Lamar Miller, two good running backs. We'll see if Foreman gets some playing time this year. If Watt can stay healthy, he'll show that he's the best defensive lineman in the league. Clowney had a pretty good year last year when Watt was out. Good linebackers, McKinney, Cushings, and Mercilus. They lost. They didn't add anybody, and they lost Bouye, Quentin Demps, John Simon, Vincent Wilfork. So they lost some pieces on the defensive end. Andre Hall and Jonathan Joseph, Kareem Jackson are still on the defensive end. So they still have a good defense. I've got them slated to go 10-6. I think they'll honestly be pretty good just because their defense is what their defense is. And then obviously I got the Titans winning. I think the Titans are ready. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I got the Titans winning this one. And, they're really I think they're ready to win. I think I got them at 11-5. They just it seems like it's time. Draft wise, they had a good draft. Corey Davis, Adore Jackson, Tywan Taylor, 3 good draft picks to start off. Jaylen Brown, Jonnu Smith, some other guys. Josh Carraway, a good linebacker. And they have a pretty good defense with Jarrell Casey, Derek Morgan, Sylvester Williams. They added from Denver. Linebacker-wise, Avery Williams and Wesley Woodard and Brian Arakpo, 3 good linebackers. Jaylen Brown will probably be coming into some. Logan Ryan, Adore Jackson, cornerbacks, Kevin Bayard and Jonathan Cyprin. Logan Ryan and Jonathan Cyprin are 2 guys that they added in the offseason. We'll see how this defense holds up, but I like the offense a lot. Marcus Mariota, I think will have a really good season. DeMarco Murray, I think will have a really good season. Derrick Henry also will have, I think, a better season than he did last year. And then, Corey Davis, I think, will have a good year. And then, Tywan Taylor, I think, will have an all right year too. I think that, this is a good offensive line. I think this team's, ready to make an impact. Maybe not deep into the playoffs, but I think they're ready to win this division this year. Okay, so the toughest division in the AFC, I think they'll slaughter. I think all these teams will slaughter most of the teams that they play outside the division, but because they play their division team so much, I got the Chargers at 8-8. I think they're primed to be a lot better this season. I really like their offense. Phillip Rivers is a veteran quarterback. Melvin Gordon showed promise last year. They got other good running backs, Kenyon Barner and Brandon Oliver, some other all right guys. And then, they're improving their offensive line. And then their wide receiving core I really like. Terrell Williams played really good last year. Keenan Allen's back, and then they got Mike Williams. We'll see how they do. They added Russell Okonu, too, at the left tackle. They lost King Dunlap, DJ Fluker, Manti Te'o, and Danny Woodhead. Draft-wise, Mike Williams was a good pick. Forrest Lamp, Danny Freeney, these are all guys that are slated to start. So we'll see how they do. Desmond King is a guy that I like also. But I got them going 8-8, which is a definite improvement from what they've been in the past. They were 5-11 last year. I got Denver going 9-7. I think their quarterback position's a little bit of a shaky position. The fact that they're I don't know about their running backs. Jamal Charles and C.J. Anderson, Devontae Booker, all 3 pretty solid running backs, but I don't know about the offensive line as much. They did get Ron Larry, and they did draft Grant Bowles. They do have Max Garcia, Matt Paradis. Not a bad offensive line. I don't know. I just don't know about Simeon. They do have good receivers, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. I like the addition of Carlos Henderson in the draft. And defensively, they do have a solid defense. I have them going 9-7. They're going to be right there at the end. Really like their secondary, Aqib Talib and Chris Harris, T.J. Ward, Darian Stewart. Real good secondary. Shane Ray and Brandon Marshall are more the known guys. Todd Davis did lead the team in tackles last year. Von Miller, their best player, obviously on defense. Jared Craig and Derek Wolfe and DeMonte Pecco on the defensive line. Pecco they added from Cincinnati. They lost Russell Okun and DeMarcus Ware retired. Sylvester Williams, Tennessee, lost a couple other guys. So then at second, I got Kansas City at 11-5. I think they'll finish 11-5 this year. I mean, they're just a solid team defensively. You know, their offense, it goes in spurts. They had a really shitty draft to me. At first I was like, well, maybe they're doing something, but I don't know. At the same time, they didn't really have a lot of picks. They didn't really get like a top back. Kareem Hunt will be a good back. I like the pick of Kareem Hunt and their second round pick. Capacino is a good pick. And then Patrick Mahomes is not a bad pick, but I don't know if he's their future. I guess he is their future, but I don't know how good he is going to be. I mean, they like that he can throw the ball deep and that they doesn't get knocked down, but I feel like he's going to need some years to develop. Alex Smith, a good quarterback, solid quarterback. Spencer Ware, I think will actually have a good year. Kareem Hunt, I think will, when he needs to come in, will actually do well. Travis Kelce will have a solid year like he usually does. Receiver-wise, they need some help. Tyreek Hill, he did a lot of damage, on kick returns and he did catch the ball some, but it was more that the fact that you didn't know where he was going to be. I don't know if they can rely on him to be like a number one receiver. Albert Wilson's not a number one receiver, so hopefully Chris Conley can fill that spot, or maybe they'll add somebody. But they need some help at the receiver position. But that's something that they've always needed help at. So I don't look at that as like necessarily a something that's not normal. They added Benny Logan. On the defensive line, they have Chris Jones, who's good, Justin Houston, and Derek Johnson, Tamba Ali, Rakim Wilson, some good players for their linebackers. D Ford also. Secondary-wise, they have Eric Berry. They signed him again. Ron Parker, Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters is one of the best cornerbacks. We'll see how this season goes. For them, I think they'll be pretty good, though. And then I got the Raiders, to bounce back after the Carr injury. I have them going 12-4 this year. And this year, actually, I think they could be dangerous in the playoffs. Had a pretty good draft. Cornerback from Ohio State, Garon Conley, was their first-round pick. They picked some other guys that were pretty good. Derek Carr is the quarterback. I think he's really the future quarterback of the NFL. Marshawn Lynch, this is a good offensive line. I think Marshawn Lynch will come in and actually be pretty good. Jared Cook, tight end. Lee Smith, another tight end. Wide receiver-wise, Cordell Patterson and Seth Roberts, good backups for Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. I really like that combination of Cooper and Crabtree. Defensively, they're solid too. Mario Edwards, Khalil Mack, Bruce Irvin, Marquell Lee, Jelani Jenkins, David Emerson, Sean Smith, Carl Joseph, Reggie Nelson. Real good secondary. I like their kicker, Janikowski. Eddie Vanderdoes, a rookie. He's on the defensive line. Watch him. And Conley, watch him. They added Cook, like I said, and Lynch and Jelani Jenkins, Cordell Patterson. They lost Nate Allen and Andre Holmes, Latavius Murray, obviously, and Malcolm Smith. They lost also, which sucks. But I got them going 12-4. Overall, my top 6 teams in the AFC would be. I don't know if there would probably be, let me see here if I have it. Top six teams for me would be New England, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Kansas City, and it'd be either Baltimore or Denver, whoever wins the tiebreaker. And uh, I would say Baltimore would probably I think wins the tiebreaker at but they'd both be 9-7. Well, wait, Houston would be on here too. Never mind, Houston is 10-6, so never mind. So I guess Houston would be my sixth seed over Baltimore and Denver, and then Miami would be, or I guess the Chargers and the Colts and the Bengals would be next, and then Dolphins, and then Bills, Jags, Jets, Browns. But yeah, I mean, I like honestly like Pittsburgh and New England to be the top teams, not like 1 and 2, but I see them as facing each other in the AFC Championship game. I see Pittsburgh being able to beat Oakland. I see New England beating Kansas City, and then I see somehow Pittsburgh beating New England. That's kind of my prediction for now. For some reason, I feel like uh, Pittsburgh's got it this year. But that's how I feel on in the preseason. That's how I'm feeling.